AstroCass back here. So I'm just coming with a new astrology video, and this one's going to be for my celebrity series. So what I'm going to be doing is just looking at different celebrities' charts and doing like a really quick speed kind of reading of that chart and just giving you a little bit of what I see based on the aspects, the placements and stuff like that. So I hope you guys really enjoy it. I think it's going to be fun because a lot of people can relate to celebrities and you can see how this stuff plays out, I guess, in the public. Whereas, you know, going through some of the historical charts and going through like people through history, and also like showing examples of like clients' charts that have given me permission to share their charts and stuff. It's a little bit harder just because it's not as easy for you guys to wrap your head around, and even me sharing my stories and my experiences might not be something that's helpful for people. So, I mean, everyone's interested in celebrities and, or, you know, somewhat famous people, and I think it's a good way to kind of see astrology in action and just kind of, you know, have a look at how that plays out from what we see, and, you know, what might be going on in their private life as well that maybe we don't see, because celebrities do try and keep a lot of stuff hidden and stuff as well. So thanks for joining me, and for everybody that's new, I'm Cassie, Cassandra, AstroCass, whatever you would like to call me. And if you found my channel, I'm assuming you probably like things like astrology, spirituality, motherhood, you know, pregnancy, IVF journey, could even be health and fitness and cooking, because those are also the sorts of things that I'm interested in. Very creative channel, and I hope that you guys find a lot of benefit from some of the stuff that I upload. And the more that you guys get behind me with following me and liking my videos, subscribing to my channel, the more content and stuff I can bring out, and I really appreciate all the support that I can get. But with all that being said, let's just jump into it. So I've got my phone here, and I'm just going through reading some of my notes and some of the aspects, because I have the first celebrity off the bat, and it is going to be one of the Jenners. Kendall. I'm going to do Kendall Jenner's chart. So I will put a proper picture and stuff up later, but I'm just reading off my phone. So that's just kind of what I'm going to be doing, having a look off that, reading my notes that I've got. So bear with me, let's do this. So Kendall Jenner was born in Los Angeles, California in the United States on November 3rd, 1995 at 3:38 p.m. So with all that being said, that makes her an Aries rising, and it gives her moon in her first house in Aries. It is on the cusp, so her moon's on the cusp with Pisces in Aries, and then she has her sun in Scorpio. So that's her big three: ascendant Aries or rising sign is Aries, her moon is in Aries, very early degrees, and her sun is in Scorpio. So already, one of the biggest things that stand out to me is that her ruling planet is Mars. So traditionally, Scorpio is ruled by Mars, and so is Aries. Aries is ruled by Mars. So already she's got a lot of that energy right with her. So the Scorpio side where her sun is, that Mars is more watery, and it is more psychological, can be more secretive, more vindictive. It's more of an emotional side because Scorpio is fixed water, whereas Aries is cardinal fire. So that is, Aries is initiating, starting things off, and it's fire, which is energy and action, doing something, whereas water is obviously emotions. So they're ruled by the same planet Mars, but just different expressions, feminine and masculine expressions, really. And the other thing I guess is important to kind of mention as well is that in the, you know, traditional natural zodiac sign, Aries does start the zodiac wheel off. So the zodiac natal chart with your 12 zodiac signs that go around the houses, Aries does traditionally rule the first house and kicks it off. So she has a very traditional astrology chart, which is really cool. And Aries is also the baby of the astrology chart, the zodiac signs. So it usually goes like Aries is the youngest energy, and Pisces is the oldest. And Pisces is usually when, you know, you've got all your wisdom and your transcendent parts and be reborn type of thing. So when we're looking at this as well, there's that to keep in mind as well. That Aries energy does make her quite youthful. I won't say immature, but like youthful and somewhat, in some ways, childlike with your emotions and stuff like that, and just wanting to do things and go head first into things. So if you think about like, you know, a toddler or a newborn learning things, they obviously usually just go head first into things, and like, you know, that's how they learn, is by accidents and hurting themselves. They'll do things first and think about the consequences later. Very much Aries energy. So let's break this down a little bit more, because that was just some of the starting information that I want to give to you about that. So right off the bat, Kendall having an Aries rising or an Aries ascendant, what that's going to do is it's going to shape her identity, and it's going to shape her body, her physical appearance, and how she presents to people. A lot of people say that your rising sign or your ascendant is kind of like a mask that you wear. It's what you portray to other people. It's what they think of you when they first meet you, that energy that they get. Which is true. It's kind of like a mask that we wear, like our armor, or however you want to kind of explain it. But it's also important to keep in mind that it rules the first house, and the first house is part of your self-identity. It's part of your physical body. So it's not just a mask that she takes off and put on. Like, the Aries energy is physically part of her, and it's also her moon sign, so that energy is quite important to her, and it's going to be you know, a big part of her personality. So with Kendall, she has a lot of desire and passion. She's got you know, a bit of a go-getter attitude, and I don't know if we actually see that quite a lot, because you're watching and keeping up with the Kardashians and stuff like that. You know, I haven't seen like a lot of her, but the parts that I have seen, what springs to mind is that she's quite independent, which is very Aries. Aries is very independent. And she's a little bit more kind of secretive and mysterious, which is more of the Scorpio sun side of things. And where I see her Aries energy the most, with her physical body and like just being a go-getter and wanting to do things and whatnot, is actually in some of the seasons where Kylie and Kendall spend time with their father, Bruce Jenner. And, you know, they're doing things like horse riding, and they're doing things like, you know, with motor cars and racing and stuff like that. That's all very Aries energy. And I think there's been a few times where Kendall's been involved in other, I guess you could say, like kind of dangerous, high-risk sports and stuff like that, whether it's, you know, I guess skydiving or horseback riding or like race car driving and stuff like that. Aries energy is very much like, let's do something spontaneous, let's do something that's kind of dangerous or risk-taking, something that's fun and adventurous. Aries is very sporty, very energetic, and that's when she's with her father, and you know, in the I guess early teens, when we were watching them on Keeping Up with the Kardashians, that was very much that energy there, that risk-taking, fun energy that they would do with their father, and snowboarding and stuff like that. I think Kendall does like snowboarding and bits and pieces of that. Very much that's where I see her Aries energy quite a lot. And also physical body, so she needs to be doing something. She needs to be busy and doing something. She needs to be doing like some kind of exercise, or just keeping busy, moving her body physically. And when I'm saying exercise, it doesn't have to be in the gym and doing all that stuff. Like, exercise can be, you know, it can be riding a bike, it can be hockey, it can be walking, it can be swimming, it can be hitting up the gym, it could be doing weights, it could be running. You know, like there's a lot of things that classify as physical activity. Horseback riding, you know, for example, like dancing, all those things fall into that category. So first thing off the bat that you need to know about her is that she's a go-getter, she's independent, she's very active, and she would definitely need to keep busy all the time. So the first house, as I mentioned as well, rules your physical appearance. So with Kendall, you will notice, obviously there's a lot of other things that come into play. We've also got to look at, when it comes to like the physical looks of somebody, you look at their first house, their rising sign or ascendant, which is for her is Aries. But you want to look at the ruler of that as well, which is Mars. So you want to see where that's placed, and that's placed in Sagittarius, another fire sign. And then you also want to have a look at the moon and the sun. So the sun's in Scorpio, the moon's in Aries. So you've got you know, Aries ascendant, Aries moon, and then you've got the ruler of Aries in Sagittarius, which is another fire sign. So already we know that she's going to have things like a very fast metabolism. She's going to be very sporty, so her body might be physically fit and lean. Also, her skin might have a bit of a reddish tone to it because of that Aries side. They can have problems with like overheating or just red skin or rosacea, those sorts of things. Sometimes with Aries risings, they can have, you know, scars on their face or accidents to their face sometimes. Another physical appearance of an Aries rising is they have kind of like these very defined arched kind of eyebrows. I'll have to show you guys some kind of pictures and stuff like that. But it's very much like a very kind of defined eyebrow. They've also kind of got the face shape of the ram because Aries is the ram, so they've got that very like narrow kind of face, and like that's where the eyebrows and stuff come into. So that's the physical kind of appearance. Whereas the Mars, which is the ruler of her first house, being in Sagittarius, that can also give her look to be a little bit Sagittarian as well. So with Sagittariuses, they usually have very prominent legs, either long legs, or they'll have really thick thighs and thick legs, and you know, a big nice booty. So I mean, think of like Sagittarius is usually compared to like a horse, the centaur. If you know a bit about mythology, Sagittarius is the centaur, half human, half horse type of thing. A lot of people say that anyone with Sagittarius placements strongly in their chart can have a little bit of that horse-like look to them. So what I mean by that is like the long hair, the shiny hair. It's to do with like their nose and their smile and their teeth. Their teeth can be very prominent and noticeable, not in a bad way, but it's just like, you know, their smile and their teeth and stuff like that can be quite noticeable. And I think that is something that we kind of do see with Kendall Jenner as well. She's got beautiful long hair, it is quite shiny, she's got a nice smile and teeth and stuff like that. So definitely you can see that side of her. And that's also backed up because she actually has a stellium in Sagittarius as well. She has Jupiter, Mars, and Venus, which is classified as a stellium. So there's 3 planets in that one sign. So again, she's very much got that Aries look to her, but also with a little bit of that Sagittarius side too. So that's why you kind of see the physical, you know, leanness of her body, the active physical side, and then you see kind of like the long hair and the smile and stuff like that. But then she's got that mysterious side to her as well, and that very kind of edgy, I guess, like sexy look to her, which is the Scorpio sun. So Scorpio is very intense. It's like their eyes are very intense, the look, the power that they kind of give off. Scorpio can be a very sexualized sign as well, so it's very mysterious, very sexy, very powerful, very alluring. And so I think Kendall's got that side to her as well. Definitely intense eyes with her. So that's, you know, all I'm going to say about that part, or else I could be here for ages rambling on. Then we've got her having a Taurus second house. As Taurus rules her second house of money, possessions, and values. So that's saying that she values and I guess finds pleasure in those Taurian type of things. So that's physical things. Taurus is an earth sign, so it's practical, it's physical. She likes comfort, material things, material comfort. And for Kendall in particular, the ruler of her Taurus second house is in Sagittarius in the 9th house. So she very much values material things and possessions and her comfort, and sometimes with Taurus they can like some luxury things, not too expensive, but like a good wine, good cheeses, food, comforting things, comfortable things. And then with that Venus, which rules Taurus being in the 9th house, she likes traveling. She values things like philosophy, education. She might value different cultures and their products or items and stuff like that as well. She might spend a lot of money on traveling. She might make a lot of money through traveling because the second house is also her money as well. And it's not just how she makes money, but also how she spends money. So she'll spend a lot of money on traveling and I guess, you know, education, foreign lands, those sorts of things, which is all 9th house. So then her 3rd house of her thoughts, her communication, learning, siblings, all that kind of stuff is Gemini. So that shows that her relationship with her siblings and all those sorts of things is very much very Gemini energy, so very like friendly, very fun, very curious, like lots of talking, communication, lots of networking. So that's what that's about. And same with her thoughts, because the third house rules over your thoughts and communication as well. So she's probably very witty, very curious, very fast thinking, probably jumping from one thing to the next, like, just always, her mind's always going on different things. Gemini energy can be a bit anxious as well, so sometimes there can be problems with, anxiety and overthinking things. And I believe Kendall has spoken a few times about her mental health and anxiety and those sorts of things. So that could be down to that third house. Even though she doesn't have any planets in Gemini, that third house ruling her thoughts can show that sometimes, she might be prone to a little bit of anxiety there. Now, the ruler of her Gemini third house is actually in Libra at the very last degrees, in Libra in her 7th house. So that shows that close one-on-one relationships are quite important to her, especially with romantic partners, marriage partners, those sorts of things. But close one-on-one relationships can also be like your best friends and close family members, or just anyone close to you in a one-on-one kind of relationship. But generally it's a romantic connection, or your marriage partner when you do get to that stage in life. So already a lot of her thoughts and communications, she usually would communicate with people one-on-one. She would prefer that style. I'm assuming she probably wouldn't like big crowds and gatherings. I know obviously she's a bit of a celebrity and she's on Keeping Up with the Kardashians, but I would probably feel like she's happier and more at ease, even though she's a very social person, especially with that Gemini third house energy that's very social and networking. I would think that she still prefers those one-on-one close relationships rather than like big groups of crowds of people. And again, a lot of her thoughts and stuff like that are based around those relationships and how she relates to others. And I guess, she is a model, and there is a lot of aspects of her dealing with people, especially, trying to form those close relationships and traveling around and stuff like that a lot. And Libra's very beautiful too, very, very much with her Mercury being in Libra. That makes her very diplomatic, very much thinking about other people probably before herself. She would be thinking about peace, harmony and balance quite a lot. She would probably think and value, beautiful things. Her mind is very Gemini and very curious, but also very based around fairness and diplomacy and beautiful things like artwork and, style and fashion, because that can be a very Libra thing as well. There's a lot of zodiac signs and houses that kind of fashion kind of falls into, and style and stuff like that, but Libra is definitely one of those signs that's very much focused on aesthetics and style and fashion as well. And then we've got Cancer ruling her 4th house of home and family. So that shows that her environment where she was growing up and how her mother is with her and her home and family is very Cancerian, very nurturing, very loving, and I'm assuming she probably felt quite safe and nurtured when she was a child and growing up. And that's also what she wants her home to be like when she, now that she's got a home and stuff like that, she would like it to feel very welcoming, very homely, very family orientated. But the moon, which is the ruler, is in Aries, and it's in a fire sign, it's in an independent sign, and it's in the sign of herself. So Aries is I am, so a very independent, very self-centered sign. So with her home and family environment, although it is in Cancer and it's in nurturing and it's very loving in that aspect, and emotionally supporting, her moon is actually in Aries in the 1st house, which is kind of explaining that she's more independent away from her family. She thinks more so about herself first and puts herself first in all of those situations. And the moon traditionally also represents the mother, her mother, and what she's going to be like as a mother. So the moon in Aries is also showing that her mum might have been quite busy, maybe a little bit bossy. It might have been trying to, get her to go, very action orientated, very passionate. But also obviously with that Cancer nurturing side in the actual home and family. So it's got that duality happening there. And then you have Leo ruling her 5th house of children, creativity, fun, pleasure, dating. So that shows that when it comes to her dating life, she does like to be romantic and have a bit of fun and a bit of pleasure. When she's being creative and stuff like that, she likes to be seen, she likes to express herself. And that's what she's going to be like when she's a parent too, very outgoing and very fun and friendly when she's very childlike and free when she has children, because that's that 5th house. The rule is the sun, obviously, that's in her Scorpio 8th house. So that shows that with children as well, when it comes to her having children, she might be a little bit more private. She might be waiting until she has a very close relationship with someone, because Scorpio is all about deep bonding. It's about that working through trauma and stuff like that first. It's about weeding through the secrets and stuff like that. It's a very deep sign, that Scorpio. So it also means that she might not be out for just dating and it being like super casual. The sun being in that Scorpio 8th house is deep bondings, deep connection, and it's about like sex and commitment and other people's money and investment. So I'm assuming when she's dating people, she likes the admiration, she likes the attention, she likes the romance and love and praise, but she also wants the privacy and she wants it to be deep and meaningful. And Scorpio is very sexy, very mysterious, and as I said, I see to the truth of things, no bullshit. It likes that intimacy, that deep substance to it, and very emotional. With Scorpio as well, it does usually get referred to as kind of like it's a fixed water sign. So I like to think of it as either like an ice block, or another way to kind of think about it is like a big lake, and you can look into that lake. The way you look at it, it's going to be going deeper and deeper and deeper, and you can never really quite see the bottom. Like, it's just so deep, and that's how their emotions are. They're a little bit guarded, mysterious, cold, very deep. Scorpio's energy can be vindictive. It can be, I guess, as I mentioned, like thinking about trauma and power and control and transformation and sex and all those sorts of things. So it's a very taboo kind of sign. So there's a lot to unpack in that, and I'm only doing like a quick short reading on this. So there's a lot more to that, but let's just leave it there for now. Then you've got Virgo ruling the 6th house of things like work, routine, the duties and stuff like that you do. It's about your health and fitness and co-workers and pets. So very much like her day-to-day and her routines and what it's like most of her days is very much Virgo. So Virgoan, and Virgo is all about being analytical, being logical, being critical. It's about getting to the essence and the purity of something and getting rid of all the other stuff that you don't need and just keeping the things that are good and that you actually need. It's very much like organized and likes to have a good routine and a plan for things. It's very logical. It's ruled by Mercury, so it's definitely very likes a plan. It's very detail orientated, and as I said, it's ruled by Mercury, and her Mercury is in Libra. So again, that's showing that those relationships and those close one-on-one relationships are a big part of her work environment and her day-to-day. So the things that she might do for work and their daily duties and stuff like that is definitely a lot of being critical and analytical, planning things and organising things. And I guess as a model that makes quite a lot of sense, and that the Mercury is actually in Libra, so that definitely kind of makes sense with her being a bit of a model and stuff like that. She would have a lot of I guess planning and organising that she would have to do when she's doing different jobs, different runway shoots and stuff like that, having to be very analytical and critical with what brands she's going to go with and what ones she's not, but also she has to stay like fit and healthy, obviously, without being too, I guess, I don't know, without being too blunt about it, like, models, they do have to be a certain size and look a certain way, and they do have to be, I guess, able to model clothes in a certain way. So there is that big focus on that health and fitness, which is definitely very much a Virgo thing. They definitely value and look for high hygiene and appearance as, you know, very important, and going exercising and eating healthy foods and stuff like that. So I would say she probably would be a bit of a picky eater, and she would be very much into her exercise and looking after herself. And, you know, as I mentioned before, exercise can come in different forms, so it might not be going to the gym every day for her. I mean, it could be, but, you know, whatever it is, whether it's monitoring what she's eating or, you know, exercising quite a fair bit, I think that would be a bit of her, a big part of her every day, is focusing on those sorts of things. And then she's got Libra ruling her 7th house of close one-on-one relationships, contracts, and marriage partnerships. So Libra, as I mentioned before, that's all about peace, harmony, cooperation, diplomacy, fairness, all that kind of stuff. So that's what she looks for in her close one-on-one relationships, and what she looks for in a marriage partner. So a lot of the time her relationship could be about fairness and equality, especially when she's looking for a marriage partner. Obviously they're going to have other traits, and you want to kind of look at where the Venus sign is, which I'm going to kind of jump into, and you want to look at the Mars and the Moon and stuff like that, because that's all important in a relationship, and we'll give you more information. But when we're just looking at from the aspect of the 7th house, I would say that, you know, she's probably the type of person that, you know, would like to make things fair in the relationship. And the aspect is like, you know, if you pay for dinner one night, I'll pay the next night. You pay half the bills, I'll pay, you know, half as well. Like, it's that equality, like you take the trash out one day, I'll take it out the next, or you do these jobs around the house and I'll do these ones. It's like in those close relationships and marriage relationships, it'll be about fairness and equality. She'll want somebody that's on her level and that's going to be able to help her out and be in a partnership with her. It's also a very social sign, so she probably comes like a partner that, you know, also doesn't mind going to certain events and stuff like that. You know, being a model and being a Kardashian, they are going to birthday events and certain things where you have to go and be social. Again, as I did mention, she's quite a private person, an independent person, but again, she does have that side where she is a supermodel and she is a Kardashian Jenner. So there is a social aspect, and she's going to need a partner that can keep up with that. And, you know, when it comes to her close one-on-one relationships, like friendships and close relationships and people that she deals with a lot, she does try and be fair and balanced with people that she's close to in those one-on-one relationships. And then she's got Mercury in Libra, as I mentioned before. So again, there's a lot of communication happening in her close one-on-one relationships, lots of contracts, lots of information going on there, which makes sense with her being a model. Then we've got the 8th house. So as I mentioned a little bit before, but the 8th house is sex, death, transformation. It's the house of occult. It's the house of other people's money. It's a very mysterious taboo house. It covers like a lot of different things, but just in general, think about it being a house of investment, other people's money, and transformation, and so on. So she has her sun in that house, and she also has Pluto. And so the sun is how we're shining. It's our ego, it's our confidence, it's our vitality. And that's in the 8th house, showing, again, as I mentioned before, that she very much likes privacy, but it's a big focus as well on other people's money and investments and stuff like that. Again, she's a model, she's part of the, you know, the Jenner Kardashian kind of brand, so there is a lot of investments and a lot of business deals that she makes, a lot of dealing with other people's money, all those sorts of things. So from her modeling contracts, from the keeping up with the Kardashian contracts, being on TV, she gets, you know, a lot of business deals, a lot of investments, you know, a lot of endorsements. That makes a lot of sense that her sun's there. The sun usually, along with Saturn, can represent the father in astrology as well. So again, those Scorpio traits, the trauma, the secrecy, the mystery, she can get some of those traits from her father, which is Bruce Jenner. And if you look at the ruler, which is Mars, and it's also Pluto, and Pluto's in rulership in this case, it's in Scorpio, and Mars is in Sagittarius. Again, that gives you a bit more context to her father and I guess the kind of role he played in her life. So very much the adventure, the travel, the fun, the fieriness she gets from her dad, and that Sagittarius energy, and also the Scorpio mysterious trauma, transformative side of her, that all comes from like her father. But then if we look at the 9th house, so the 9th house is the house of higher higher education, your beliefs, religion, spirituality, philosophy, it's travel, it's everything like foreign cultures and overseas travel. So there is a lot in there. And she, as I mentioned, has a stellium. As I mentioned, she has her stellium there, so she's got her Venus, her Mars, and her Jupiter there. So Venus is what she values, it's love, beauty, romance, it's her relationships. Mars being where she puts a lot of her energy, action, passion, and drive into. It's what she's fighting for and fighting with. Jupiter being the blessings, it's, you know, wealth, it's blessings, it's abundance, it's culture and travel, and just all of that really cool stuff. So she's got some beautiful planets there. And she travels a lot. Being a model, she's very, very famous, very well known. So she deals with different cultures, different people. She's traveling a lot, so she's got a lot of exposure to that. So again, that's what she values with that Venus being there. It's where she puts a lot of her energy, with her Mars being there. And Jupiter being there, that's where she finds a lot of her wealth, her abundance, and her blessings in life is through that. And Jupiter is actually the ruler of Sagittarius, so Jupiter is in rulership there, so it's really strong and it's really happy there. And then we're looking at now her 10th house of career, reputation, fame, and legacy. It's also got her MC in that 10th house, which is the highest point of her chart. So hers is ruled by Capricorn, and Capricorn is very much about lifelong goals, working really hard. It's very traditional. It wants to be valued, it wants to be respected and seen, it wants to be like the business owners, the CEOs, it wants to be at the top, especially when it comes to work and reputation. They want to be the best of the best in the field, very hardworking, and they can be like a little bit cold and standoffish because they're so focused on their goals and work. And then she's got Neptune and Uranus in her Capricorn 10th house, so that can show some changes. So Uranus can be sudden changes, chaos, and being, I guess, unique and eccentric and rebellious. So that's in her 10th house. So that could be a lot of changes to her work, a lot of rebellion, or a lot of uniqueness and quirkiness to her career and reputation. Then she's got Neptune. Neptune usually shows film, the film industry, photography. It's where people project onto its illusions and delusions. It's very mysterious and mystical. It's spiritual gifts as well. Her Neptune rules her Pisces 12th house. It's one of the modern rulers. So again, that brings a bit of that spirituality and a bit of privacy and a bit of that humanitarian side to her career, where she probably wants to help people, very probably compassionate. Again, it kind of shows about the whole being a model, photography, that sort of thing, and a bit of a celebrity. So Neptune can show, glamour and a bit of fame there as well. And the ruler is Saturn, and Saturn is actually in Pisces, so that reinforces that side of things as well. And, working behind the scenes a little bit, or a bit of the hidden side of things. And again, as I mentioned before, Saturn can represent the father, as I mentioned with the sun. So Saturn being in Pisces, again, gives a little bit of that mystery, the illusions, and that side of things as well there. Rose-coloured glasses, things maybe not being as they seem, things being put on a pedestal, that kind of energy. Then you've got Aquarius ruling the 11th house. The 11th house is our friends, it's the groups we're a part of, it's our community. It can be our online presence as well, so like social media, internet, online. And it's also our big hopes and wishes and dreams. So that's quite a lot for her. But it shows that she's a very friendly person. And it shows that she probably hangs out with a lot of people that have similar values to her, similar humanitarian kind of values. And it shows also that she really kind of spends a lot of time probably keeping to herself or being by herself, because Saturn, the ruler, is in Pisces in her 12th house. So that's showing isolation and withdrawal. So I would assume, maybe she has some close friends, but she probably likes to keep to herself quite a lot. Like, she probably is part of groups, and especially humanitarian groups and stuff like that. And obviously she's a celebrity, she'd be very friendly, and have a lot of people that know her, but she would prefer to spend more time alone by herself, doing her spiritual practices and working on herself. And then, yeah, Pisces ruling her 12th house, the 12th house of transcendence, institutions, isolation, withdrawal, can be an area of like mental health and all those sorts of things. It's a very taboo house. It's a house that's kind of hidden from the native. It's got Saturn in there. Saturn's restrictions and lessons and karma and discipline, and it rules her 10th house of career and her 11th house of friends. So yeah, that just shows a little bit about her personality and her needing to be withdrawn, and maybe a bit of fear and you know, a little bit of anxiety and challenges with sleeping and stuff like that, maybe with Saturn being there as well. Yeah, but that's pretty much Kendall, and that's like a quick run through. But I also wanted to mention a few other things as well. So when it comes to her work and what she does for a career, you look at the first house, there's a bit of information about them and how they present. Obviously she's an Aries, she's got her moon there, the ruler's in the 9th house, which is Mars, and it's conjunct, or a very loose, wide conjunction with Venus. There's 10 degrees between them, so it's a very loose conjunction. But that just shows, obviously, working and a lot of her energy and her body and her physical appearance, you know, modeling and traveling, and that Sagittarius energy, traveling overseas and being conjunct Mars and Venus. You know, it's all about her sex drive, her sexuality, her body, and her physical appearance, her beauty, her Venusian side of things and what she values. Then you look at the second house to have a look at her money, how she makes money. That's ruled by Taurus. As I mentioned, it's about luxury, grounded things. It's about money and all that kind of stuff. The ruler's in the 9th house again. It's conjunct, very loose conjunction with Mars. So all the same things that I just mentioned apply in Sagittarius. Again, that comes and talks about traveling, making money through traveling. The 6th house is Virgo. And that's ruled, the ruler, is in the 7th house. So again, that talks about her health and her fitness and being very critical and analytical and very much on a very strict routine base. But then it's also to do with her close one-on-one relationships and contracts. So for work and her everyday is all about making contracts happen for her. 10th house of career reputation, very Capricorn, as I mentioned. It's got Neptune, Uranus there. So, you know, modeling, photography, film, very technology as well, a lot of stuff online. Yeah, so I just wanted to make that all really clear and add that all in there. She has a lot of really interesting aspects as well, so that's all worth having a look into. She's got some very powerful ones on there, but I'll probably talk more about that in depth in like another video if you guys wanted to go into it a bit more. But essentially it's more so just having a look at that stellium, having a look at all those things and getting a bit of a gist on who she is and what she kind of values. So I hope you guys found this really helpful, and if you did, give me a like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll catch you in the next one. Hi guys, AstroCass back here with a quick astrology update. I hope you've been keeping up with my Vlogmas as well. If you have been joining in on those, I really appreciate it and all of your interactions with me. But this one's, as I said, an astrology update. Of course, we've got to talk about the Gemini full moon that's coming up. So I don't know if you guys have been feeling it, but I have a Gemini Mercury and a Gemini Sun. My fiance has a Gemini Moon and Gemini Mars, and then our little one, our baby, has a Gemini Sun and Gemini Mercury. So our family house has been going through it with this Gemini energy right now with the Mars retrograde in Gemini. And I'm sure you guys are feeling it too. It's been, yeah, interesting. There's been like days where we've been feeling really off and a little bit more frustrated and on edge than what we usually would. But yeah, this full moon's going to just like be the icing on the cake. So anyone with Gemini placements out there, I feel you. We will get through it. It'll be okay. But this full moon is going to be, let's say, a little bit gnarly. But it depends on your individual birth chart and the aspects that are happening and whatnot. So if you need a hand with that, reach out, DM, email me, comment on here, just get hold of me somehow. Instagram's the best way to get hold of me. I'm on there quite a fair bit. But yeah, I do readings and I love to just help. I also usually upload a lot of astrology content on my Instagram. So please reach out. And I'm doing like the last of my end of year readings. I do a fair bit of solar returns and year ahead readings, so definitely reach out if you're looking for some of those for next year. But you're here for the Gemini full moon, so let's jump into it. So this full moon is happening at 16 degrees. So a full moon is when the sun and moon are opposite each other at the exact same degree. So we've got the moon in Gemini, and then we have the sun in Sagittarius, the optimistic, wise Sagittarius, with the moon in the curious, fast-paced, chatty Gemini. We also have Mars retrograde conjunct this full moon, so it's conjunct the moon in Gemini, pretty much exactly on 16 degrees, 15 degrees. So that's going to add a bit of spice to this full moon. Mars is like anger, aggression, frustration. It's how we take action. It's what we're fighting for and fighting with. And in Gemini, it's all over the place. It's like, it's in an air sign. So it's basically like really wiry and all over the place and a little bit wild. And retrogrades are a time for reflection, revision, going back over things. It's a time where there could be miscommunications happening, issues with transport, issues with our relationships, those sorts of things, like friendships and stuff like that. So I'm sure you guys are all feeling that already. This full moon energy you might already be feeling right now, but you might feel this energy for the full moon and have these kind of events happen for you over the next like 3 to 6 months. So check out where Gemini is in your natal chart so you can figure out what this full moon is bringing for you. And check out if you have anything in your chart at like 15, 16 degrees, because that will be activated by this full moon. So full moons are endings and cycles being completed. It's the end of something. So again, as I said, check out your chart to see more specifically what that would mean. So for me, I'm an Aries rising, so this full moon's happening in my 3rd house of communication, transport, siblings, those sorts of things. So obviously that's the areas where I'm revising. And for me, this is all about my social media content, using my voice, talking a bit more, communicating with people. That's where this Mars stuff is happening. With the retrograde, I've had a lot of issues with transport, especially with my car. So I've had like issues with my car service. They broke my sump. I had to go in 3 times to get that firstly diagnosed and then fixed. And then I've had like somebody hit the car door, and I've had to get we had high winds as well, sorry, and our wheelie bin got knocked over and it hit our car and dented our car. So we've had to have dents out and chips fixed because of rocks flicking up and hitting it. Yeah, so there's been a lot going on. We've also had a lot of like short distance trips up to Launceston, up north of Tassie. So yeah, a lot going on. But yeah, this full moon will probably be bringing up a lot for you guys as well. So I'd love to hear about it. Drop some comments. Let me know what you've been feeling with the Mars retrograde in Gemini, and what you've been feeling coming up to this full moon, and what house is happening in for you. What's coming up for you? What other aspects do we have? Sorry, I'm just having a quick look. There's a square to Neptune. It's very loose. It's like a 6 to 7 degree orb, so it is a loose square. But squares to Neptune can mean confusion, delusions, irritations there of that nature. You know, issues with potential medications, drugs, all those sorts of things. So I would avoid any of those things during the full moon period and time. I don't want to tell you guys what to do or anything like that. You're your own person, but my recommendation is just to avoid it with that square, because sometimes there can be challenges and issues popping up with that. We have a trine to the moon and Saturn. We've got a sextile between the sun and Saturn. So Saturn for the sun and for the moon is offering like supports and harmonious energy there. So there can be a lot of support through your foundations, through being responsible, those sorts of things, all of those Saturnian authority type of behaviors. We already spoke about obviously Mars and its involvement. What else do we have? I think that's about it. That's all the aspects really. So yeah, just the square to Neptune, the sextile and trine to Saturn, and then the Mars conjunction to the moon that's being involved here. So overall, it is going to be quite an interesting time for this full moon. but obviously everyone's going to feel this a little bit differently depending on your own natal chart and the aspects it's making to your natal placements. Stay safe. It's a great time for releasing with full moons. I wouldn't be manifesting or anything like that, because as I said, it is a little bit of a tricky full moon, but definitely release, do your salt baths, do some burning, releasing rituals if you're feeling called to that. It's an air sign, so it's all about our communication. It's all about social media, talking, friendships, all those sorts of things, transport, siblings, as I mentioned before. All of these topics can be coming up with this full moon. So stay safe, and I hope this has given you guys a bit of insight and some things to think about. Again, if you've enjoyed this video, give us a like, thumbs up, subscribe so you don't miss any of my content. I really appreciate your support and getting behind me so I can grow my channel and get more videos and supports out there for you guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!